Okay, 1.5 quadratics. So we have quadratic functions where we have a function name on one side, and we have a couple different formats. We have the general form, where it's basically expanded, right? Where we have ax squared plus bx plus c, or we have the standard form. Sometimes this is referred to as the vertex form. HK is always the vertex. I'm not sure why we use those letters, but that's what we use for the vertex. That's going to be either the highest or lowest point on the graph of a quadratic function, which we refer to as a parabola. So the vertex form, or the standard form, you can kind of visualize this with transformations, right? You attach the x value directly to x. This is either going to move it to the left or right. It's going to move it to the right if it's a subtraction, and to the left if it's an addition in between. The k is a vertical movement to the standard x squared graph. It's attached to the entire function, so it's going to be up if you're adding and down if you subtract. We're going to utilize that if we are given a graph and trying to come up with a function that would give us that graph. So HK is our vertex. Now in general format, we have a formula to help us find the x value for our vertex h. And that formula is just negative b over 2a. After you have that value, it's going to be a number. You can plug that back into the original function for each one of these x's. So plug it back into the original function, and that's going to give you the y value for your vertex. Some people have trouble remembering formulas, but let's think about the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula we can use to solve any quadratic equation. And that's going to be ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That's where we'd pull the a, b, and c for this quadratic formula. We will go through an example or two utilizing the quadratic formula, but it's a very, very good one to get memorized. Now, what students tend to forget as they're memorizing this formula, you tend to get the beginning, right, negative b, and you tend to get the end, the over 2a, but the middle, the plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, can be a little bit tricky to remember. Well, let's think about that. If we got rid of all of that part, the tough part to remember, what are we left with? We're left with negative b over 2a, which is going to be the x value for the vertex. All right, so you can always go back to the quadratic formula if you're struggling to remember exactly how do I get that x value for the vertex. Eliminate all that difficult part, the plus and minus, the square root, and what's left, that's going to be how we find the x value for the vertex. So let's jump into some problems on the next video.